Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today we're going to look at Chapter 19, Section 1, The Age of Exploration. By the early 1400s, England, Spain, France, and Portugal were ready to do more than just sit at home and trade with Italian merchants. They decided to explore. They wanted to go to the source of the spices that they were buying since the Crusades so that they could get them cheaper and make more of a profit on selling them, instead of having to pay their neighbors in Europe, the Italians. Europeans also wanted to become famous for making their own countries stronger and richer, and they wanted to spread the religion, Christianity. One of the greatest explorers for Portugal was Bartholomew Diaz. He was quoted as explaining European exploration this way: the 3 G's, God, glory, and gold. They couldn't have explored without new technology, though, like the caravel, which is a sturdy ship with triangular sails that can sail against the wind. They also needed to use new instruments like the astrolabe and magnetic compass to see where they were going and to know where they'd been. Portugal took the lead in exploring thanks to Prince Henry the Navigator. He was obsessed with spreading Christianity to other continents, especially Africa, which he funded 14 voyages to go and explore and map. He started his own school of navigation in 1419, and this began a massive trading relationship for gold and ivory, and even started the trade in slaves, sadly. Bartholomew Diaz led a fleet in 1488 that became the first Europeans to sail around the southern tip of Africa. By 1498, Vasco da Gama had sailed to India, where he made a ton of money scooping up spices from merchants in India. And basically, the trip cost Portugal a bit of money, but when he came back, he had 60 times the value of the whole trip in spices. So profit times 60. They had gone 27,000 miles. At this point, Spain gets involved. In 1492, the King and the Queen of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, could afford to focus on copying Portugal's great exploration success. They decided to hire an Italian with a crazy idea. The guy's name, Christopher Columbus. And this crazy idea was to try to get to the east by sailing west. Knowing that the earth was a globe, was round, he thought it was much smaller than it really is, and that you could get to the east by sailing west pretty easily. The tension and competition between Portugal and Spain got so intense that the Pope had to step in and get them to make a peace treaty dividing up the world around a longitude line. This is called the Treaty of Tordesillas, Tordesillas, Tordesillas. That was in 1494. Violence and trade. In order to take the trade routes around India away from the Muslims, who already had control of those trade routes, Portugal had to use force. They sank trading fleets, and they built forts in order to protect their gains. They even sailed to the Straits of Malacca, and Captain Alphonse de Albuquerque, 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 took over the trade routes that sailed from the Spice Islands. More spices flooding into Europe helped the prices go down, and basically the cost now to buy spices was about 1/5 what it was 50 or 100 years before. In the 1500s, Spain's explorer Ferdinand Magellan had sailed to the Philippines, which he named for the King of Spain, King Philip, the Philippines. Spaniards started to settle in the Philippines shortly thereafter. The Dutch, now remember that the Dutch come from the Netherlands, the Dutch were great sailors, and they started to cut in on the Portuguese explorations. The English started to compete, more especially with the Spanish explorations, all sailing to the Indian Ocean. Each country, the Netherlands, England, set up their own East India Company, East India. The Dutch beat the English and then started to erase Portugal's colonies in India and Indonesia, Portugal's colonies in Indonesia, just wipe all those colonies right off the map. They took the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. Yep. The capital of the Netherlands, where the Dutch are from, is Amsterdam. And Amsterdam became pretty much the richest city on earth as a result of cutting out Portuguese expansion into Asia and Africa. By the 1720s, the British and the French were trying to cut into Dutch dominance in India, but by this period, even the Dutch hadn't been able to dent the surface life for most natives in the places where they were going to, like Asia and Africa. That's it for 19.1. Next up is Chapter 20, Section 1. See you then.